All right, rules of applicable to both block and interlocking signals. What block and interlocking signal will govern the block signal will govern the use of the block. Interlocking signal will govern the use of the route of the interlocking, but unless otherwise provided, they do not supersede the superiority of the train to dispensing the use for the observance of the signal wherever required, except as to the movement of the interlocking limits. Interlocking signal indication superseded with the superiority of the trains. And Rule 3026, inspect and perfectly displayed signals in absence of light. And the absence of light, white light displayed with where colored lunar light should be on a block interlocking signal must be regarded for most restrictive indication that may be given in a signal aspect within the position set for arms plainly seen with the colored light displayed at the top of the unit. Yellow light displayed at the light until one unit until the Rule 285. Such indications are governed when block signals have been suspended for the Rule 356 of the provision such of the rules will be governed. 327 when stop must be made. The train engine must stop before leading the wheels, passing stop or at stop. The proceeding at the low speed indication of the train engine overruns the stop at the stop of the proceeding at low speed indication. The fact must be reported to the train dispatcher. Rule number 3028. The next signal indication may change after the passing signal display. Proceeding indication. The indication next signal may be changed to stop or stop. Then proceeds at a low speed indication. Engine man train must be on alert to observe it. Proceed indication changing of the stop. If the single indication permitting the train or engine to proceed the change of the stop at the stop, then proceed at low speed before the reach the stop may be made once, and the train dispatcher notified. All right. Rule 330, delaying after the passing of the preceding information indication. A train engine that have entered the block or route of the preceding indication is delayed must approach the next governing signal at the low speed until it can be seen that the track is clear of the next signal and the next signal displayed in the proper indication. Rule 331, standing clear of the track circuit. The track engine cars and standing other than the main tracks or signal tracks must be clear of the track circuit. Rule 3023, using sand. It is necessary to use the sand to stop the engine moving. If necessary to use the sand to stop the engine moving light, insufficient sand will be used to ensure the safe operation. Stopping such engine must be moved immediately. A sufficient device in clearing the sand in proportion to the rail to ensure the proper operation block and interlocking signals. Sand must be not used, not water permitted, but to run over the movable parts and interlocking power switches, ring switches. Interlocking rules. Rule 340. Proceeding with from the stop signal, the train's engine must pass the interlocking signal indicating stop, except for the provided with Rule 344 and 344 without 343 and 344 without receiving the hand signals. Rule 375. The verbal permission for the operator must send the flagman ahead if they cannot see with the route properly lined with the movement. Must be made at low speed movements to stop the operator. The train engine man stop the operating making the movement from the interlocking must move in any other direction until they have received the proper signal for him. That's the Rule 3041, movement stopped by the operator. Rule 342, reverse movements. The reverse movement within the limits of the interlocking forward movement, or after making the reverse movement, must not be made without proper indication of the signal indication permission from the operator. Rule 343, interlocking stations closed. While the interlocking station is closed when no operator is on duty, the interlocking should be signaled with an open route indicating that the stop movement through the indication must be proceeded with the flagman before proceeding. The engine man with the train man must know the route with the proper line with the signal indicating the stop the conflicting routes. In addition, with the interlocking governs the movement over the bridge, engine man and the train man must ascertain that the bridge is in proper position, passes train or engine. The fact may be reported to the train dispatcher for the first available point of the communication. Rule 344, automatic interlocking of the train and engine stop with the stop indication. Automatic interlocking signals not immediately conflicting movement to evident member of the crew member must operate with the time release and signal does not change with the indication of expiration time or the release interval. There is no train or engine conflicting route with the signals of conflicting the route indicated with the stop train with the engine then proceeding on the hand with the signal with a member of the crew located at the crossing when indicator lights are provided with the release box such as the lights are illuminated with the signals of conflicting the routes of the stop. If the train engine conflicts with the route, the hand proceed with must be given until such a movement is stopped. If the signals or conflicting routes do not include the stopping flag, protection rule 99 must be provided on conflicting routes. Alright, Rule 345, interlocking within the automatic block system territory. Interlocking within the automatic block system territory with the train engine has been moved to the interlocking limits. Either the hand signal proceeded with the flagman must move beyond the interlocking limits unless there is leaving a signal governing movement beyond the interlocking limits, displaying a clear approach indication except as prescribed in Rule 350. Right, automatic block signal rules. 350, stopping indication per Rule 292. When the train engine is stopped, the stop indication such as the indication does not change the properly to the move more favorable indication communicated with the train dispatcher control operative for the communication available to the train engine may proceed with low speed. Next, with the clear of the approach, the medium approach signal must signal upon the verbal advice for the train dispatcher control appropriate with the words there are no opposing train in block. The train and the engine may proceed with under the flag of the protection next clear and approach medium with the approach signal where there is lack communication upon the verbal advice with the train dispatcher control operator and the words producing under the flag protection. The word must be used with the train dispatcher control operator does not know whether the using, opposing, and movement involve the procedure. Under 1 and 2 of the 3 must be reached at the stop indication when the signal is advanced to be seen. A clear approach medium and approaching signal within the track can be seen with a clear to such signal. Train and engine may make up the flag and proceeding low speed to such signal. Communication with the train dispatcher is not required when they expect with the Rule 340 and 402, but making the switch movement to the yard limits under the provision of Rule 93 outside of the territory Rule 400 to 406 inclusive are in effect. Outside of the territory Rules 400 to 406 exclusively are in effect with the written flag instruction, but the work action flagman station with the stop indication will govern the proceeding with the stop such signal. In no case will the train exceed low speed. 351, stopping and proceeding with the signals per Rule 291. When train engines stop at the stop, then proceed. A low speed indication may proceed on any track and signal with its further traffic in both directions. Low speed through the entire block, except for the moving under the flag protection. Rule 350, this must be continued under the flag protection prescribed. When making the reverse movement in the block governed by the Rule 354 and Rule 404, any of the tracks signed with the traffic condition, traffic in one direction of low speed through the entire block, passing the stopping and proceeding signals, the train may pass this by with stopping, then proceeding to low speed. Indication of the low speed is entering the siding with the meeting point where the track is to be seen clear with the signal of the switch at low speed. Continuing with the main track at the meeting of the point form SA the train order. Alright, only when the opposing train is seen with entering the siding, the track is seen to be clear by the switching used by the train to be met. Alright, Rule 353, entering the black signal between signals. Any train entering the black between the signals must be protected with required by the rules, must proceed at low speed at the next signal. Rule 354. Reverse movements. Unless modified by the rules governing the movement of the train's engines and block signals during train engines having passed beyond the limits of the block, must not back into the block without flag protection against opposing trains and engines, except as follows. On a train ordering authorizing permitted the reverse movement and clear signal indication of Rule 281 is displayed in entering the block of the 2. Under Rule 93, the flag protection is not required. 355, block indicators, hand throw, switches, sidings, and other track. Absolute block signal territory indicating the condition of the block governing movements of the main track. The block indicators, aspects, indication, and aspects and indications. Aspect, miniature, sophomore, vertical, green light, block is clear. Miniature, sophomore, horizontal, red light, block is occupied. Where indicators are equipped with the bottom of the member of the crew that operate with the push button, but not until the reverse seat immediately before the operating switch. Rule 356, taking signal out of service when the emergency requires the automatic block system. Mechanical members of the train engine for the block signal must be taken to service temporarily. Use the train orders the Form Z with the territory involved as more than 5 miles until the repair can be made. Trains will be operated with a timetable train orders rule governing such operation of the absolute block signal and rules governing the movement of the block signal considered whether suspended during the time of the specified territory. Designing block signal color lights must be extinguished signal to maintainer as soon as possible. The interlocking the rules. Interlocking signals are still effective. The train must approach the railroad crossing drawbridge junction. The interlocking the first signal left in the service prepared to the stop. Facing point spring switches must be examined on the ground, throwing over them back by hand. The remote control switches must be placed in the hand operation. On dual control switches, selectors must be in the set of the hand position switch operated once from by the hand and left line on the main track. After the remote control switch points must be spiked for the main track. The movement of the train order Form X must be issued prescribing such speed restriction for the passenger train freight trains as which they ensure the absolute safety. Even though the absolute block system rules are suspended light burning red or sophomore arm horizontally positioned unless covered, the block and signal must be respected and the train stopping the proceeding at the speed prescribed at Form X ordered. When failure, communication, and storm, etc. renders it impracticable to deliver the train order Form Z of the train of the absolute block system, but not including the territory when running over the governor or opposing the following movements of the black signal is in effect for the superintendent after the speeds the reduction may authorize the trains having the right to schedule a permit them to proceed with the considered absolute block system territory suspended between the specified block signals. In such a case, that all requirements of rules except the insurance of the train order Form Z will be effective. All right, your cab signal rules. Definition of equipment engine or train engine with the train equipped with the cab signal apparatus, including the whistle, acknowledgement, and operative condition for the direction in which it is to move. Definition of non-equipped engine or train engine with not equipped with the cab signal apparatus for the engine or train and not equipped with the direction in which it is to move, or an engine of the train and not operative with the cab signal equipment. 360 cab signal indication. Cab signal indication do not supersede the fixed signal indication except when the cab signal changes to more restrictive and more favorable indication after the passing of the fixed signal. 361 warning whistle. Warning whistle is provided with the function whenever the cab system a signal changes to more restrictive indication. The engineer must be governed with more restrictive indication acknowledgement, changing the operation acknowledgement switch, which will stop sounding the whistle. Rule 362 conflict indications. Should the cab be fixed with the signal identification indications conflict, the more restrictive indication will govern. 363 low speed indication. The cab signal changes the low speed indication. The train engine must once it reduce the speed. 364 conditions ahead. The cab signal will not indicate the conditions ahead of the engine is. Moving against the current of the traffic on the traffic signal only for the normal direction, running, pushing cars, backing up, and the other lead engine. All right, operating, interlocking, and controlling operators, control stations. The responsibility duty operator control operators responsible for the interlocking station control switch of the flag signal supplies operative with the control switch must not make the permanent or unauthorized alterations, repairs, in addition with the appliance. Any defects must be reported properly to the train dispatcher, single supervisor, single maintain the failure of any train or engine complying with the signal indications. The rules must be reported to the train dispatcher. Appliance must be operated with carefully only those changed with the duty. An irregularity affecting the operation defective signal must be displayed and given their most restrictive identification until the repairs are made. When the repairs are complete with the equipment, it must be tested. The unauthorized person must be permitted to enter the interlocking station controlling station. Interlocking absolute block signal must be kept in position, displaying the most restrictive indications, except for the signal cleared by the sufficiently advanced approaching trains of engine to avoid unnecessary restrictive indications. 7. Operating interlocking must be given a hand signal as proper indication displayed, but the interlocking signal's hand signal must be given until the route has been examined is known to be safe for the passenger train for the engine until the train engine comes to the stop of the absolute signal. When hand signals is necessary, they must be given placed in such a way that they can be no misunderstanding with the part of the engine train man or as to the signal of the train engine was what is intended. Hand signals will be given the yellow flag or the yellow light. If necessary to pass the interlocking signal with indicating the stop signal, it must be the train dispatcher signal, a supervisor signal, maintainer notified. 8. Lever to opposite. Both switch and signals must not be moved to the opposite direct position with the portion of the train with the engines closely approaching the switch. Switch levers may be restored in center position after the head of the train passes over the switch. If the signal has been cleared with the approaching train, it must not be changed to stop before the leading wheels of the train and engine passes the signal, except in an emergency. Alright, when a signal indication has been displayed with the movement of the train engine, the lever of the operating switch must not be moved with any portion of the train or engine is on closely approaching the switch unless the train engine has been stopped with the clear of the signal when necessary. The engineer is notified. When the train or engine is authorized by the controlling operator to proceed with the rules 315 and has remained with the train engine with the requirements of 104C, stop indication block signals must be displayed in the both direction red markers. Blocking device applied with the leads to prevent the clearing of the signal of movement in the track limits before granting the track and the track time limits before granting authority to entering the main track of the hand operated switches. Alright, so see, before granting authority to operate the remote control switch by hand during the time of the track of the red markers blocking device must be used and removed until all trains, engines, road machines are clear with the main with the track with the limits granted until the track has been out of service or restored. And service control operators must not be granted the track of the time limits over the greater territory than between the auto switch of the two adjacent sidings. The control operator must not grant the track time limits that might result in the restrictive indication of the train which is desired should move through such limits of maximum permissible speed. When there are two or more tracks in the territory, the tracks or time limits are granted, but the control operator must specify the track and the tracks which the authority applies. The control operator will, at the time of the track, the time limits are granted more record information granted with the prescribed form of the train engine requires the track at the time limits employed with required to state his name and occupational education, train and engineer number. The granting of the track of the limits of the control will be used the following word only: train or engine number blank at granted the time limits, for example 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. for the node, not for 30 minutes or 1 hour. For example, the signal number 253.9 and signal number 254 of north switch. They have AB siding of the south switch, AB siding north junction, south junction, and controlling operators initial. For example, the ABC time, for example 7:28 a.m. Control operator will require the track of the time limits to be repeated with the correct will respond okay. If the track and time limits can be granted, but the control operator will reply cannot grant the track limits call back, for example, 7:45 a.m. Track time limits may be granted with the manner prescribed herein, but the road machines why do not actuate block signal indications. Example: the control operator will not remove the red markers blocking device, not clear, nor clear the signals until the verbal information reporting the track clear has been entered into the ink. Control operator on form prescribed with the name of the employee reporting the track clear and the time. 11. Tracking the time limits under the rule 402 must not be granted with the track. Such track limits occupied another train or engine not granted with the track and time limits except that. A yard engine, other engine may be granted with the track and the time limits of the main track, hand operated switch with the switch, hostile engine with the train granted with the time and the limits during the time, such as the standing. If there are no other trains engines which have not been granted with the track of the time, they have not been between absolute signals. Train engines may enter the main track on the authority of control operative of the track and time limits. The understanding had been all the trains entered with the track limits and signal indication passing the switch over the movement of the main track has been made. 12. If there is a derailment in over the switch and the run over the damage occurred with the track appliance, but the signal must be restored to display the most restrictive indication. No movement permitted until all the parts involved has been examined and are known to be safe condition. When necessary to disconnect the switch, movable to point of frog derailing facing point of lock, electrical locking switches, all switch movable to point of frog derails effective must be securely spiked and fastened in its required position, sealed on. The electrical locks must not be broken except for the emergency only after known as the signals affected in the normal air position report made with the transport train dispatcher signal maintainer immediately. Operation lever must be blocked and marked and should be not used when the track and switch and signal is undergo repairs or when track is obstructed. 14. Interlocking levers powers operated with the switch must be moved as often may be necessary to keep the connection between the freezing whenever the weather conditions require, and if the force were the duty, keep appliance functional properties during the adverse weather conditions not on hand with when required. In fact, it was reported in prompt 1. 15. When making, writing, transfer, operator, control operator, would include the location of the prospective movement, irregularity, apparatus, and appliance, outstanding instructions, and control stations when train graphs are used in the train identification line. Connection recordings must be written in control operating train graph sheet. Unusual occurrence delays must be noted. He must sign the sheet expiration time of his or her tour of duty. The comments of his tour of duty control operating with the change of the train of the graph sheet will stand at his time and make the notation discrepancy, if any. Instructions contained in the rules instruction for the train dispatcher rules for instruction operators and effective insofar that they may be applicable to duties control operators and operators at interlinkings. Alright. Rules governing movement of the train's engine and block signal. Rules governing opposing following movements of the train, engine, and block signals. 400. The movement of signal indication when defined with the design traffic specified with the timetable by a special instruction. The movement of the train's engine will be governed by block signal, whose indications supersede the superiority of the trains for both opposing following movements of the same track and do not oversee supersede the train orders except for the form X were not required to enlist such territory unless otherwise by single indication. Train or engines must not be in the main track of the handle operated without authority to control operating, including the track of the time limits per rule 4.02. Such operation rules interlocking rules automatic block signals are not modified, but these rules remain in force. The movement of the train engine will be supervised, but the train dispatcher will issue an instruction for the control when required. Rule 401, clearance and classification signals. Clearances may be used to designate the train engine. Classification signals are not required except with the train designated with the clearance in an extra or as a section. They may be displayed to avoid stop the signal, stop at the place and remove them. Clearance is designated or extra signals must be read. Example, the extra 788 south and the clearance designated sections must be read. For example, the first one green signal, second one no signal, etc. 402. Track and time limits. Train engines may occupy the main track with a specified limit of the time period to authorize control operative with specifying the track and the time limit of the track to be used to be awarded. For example, the track and the time limits granted for the north track of 1:10 a.m. till 1:25 a.m. between the north and south switch of the AB siding between signal number 625 and signal number 655. While occupying the track limits with the time granted, the train engines may be moved in the direction without the flag. Protection must be loaded and be at a low speed, expecting the finding of the train's engines therein. The train engine granted with the track and the time limits after stopping the passing of the block signal indication of the stop, then proceed at low speed. The proceed at low speed to enter the track and the time limits within the track limits. Rule 104A and 104C interlocking rules. Interlocking signal must be observed. The track engines must be clear of the reported clear of the expiration of the time of the granted. If it is not clear of the time specified, the protection must be afforded with both directions of the prescribed Rule 99. For additional time required for the authority must be obtained by the control operator before authorized time limit has expired. The control operator must be notified with the train's engineers to clear of the track limit. Track limits granted, but except for the control operator with the both authorized signal indication train engine to move out of the track limit the same direction in which it is entered. It will consider clear when it is past the such indication. To hold the track limit with the time authorized for the track of the track specified, the track of the track must be activated continuously with the main track of the switch left open. No movement may be made underneath the rule until the engine may have received until the track of the time limit granted with the train of the engine requires the track time limits. Employee will state his name, occupation, location, train engineer number, and will repeat the track limits and time granted to control when that will give given. Then it's okay. 403 reporting delays. Control operator may be advanced for them as any known condition of the delay of the train and engine prevents it making usual speed. Every single indication is displayed authorizing movement of the train. Movement can be made with the promptly controlled. Must notify immediately when the train engine stops. The stop indication there with no evidence approaching the train engine communicating properly with the control operator. 404 reverse movement. It becomes necessary to reverse the movement of the train, and such a movement must be made with the flag protection, not absolute signal, except during the time in which the track was prescribed. When the absolute signal indication is displayed for the reverse movement, any part of the train engine passing the absolute signal authority must be obtained for the control operator before the reverse movement is made, except for them provided in the Rule 402. Should the train engine overrun an absolute signal stop indication protected ahead immediately as prescribed in Rule 99, communicate with the control operator before movement is made in either direction. Alright, 405, opening a switch signal. When signals governing the movement of the track of the siding of the non-signal track displays in the stop open switch per Rule 292A, but the train must enter the non-siding of the track after the switch is open. 406, call lights. When the train engine of the train engine which switching, standing of the finding of the call lights, burning on the relay house, the telephone booth, how commonly immediately the control operator. Alright, movement to signal indication remote control sighting of the timetable of the train ordered territory. 425, movement of the remote control sighting of the timetable of the train in ordered territory. Movement of the main track switches of the sighting equipped with the remote control switches signals of the timetable of the train ordered territory, as well as movement in such of the sightings will be governed in signal indication which supersedes the superior order of the trains. Such location designated special instruction rule governs the movement of the train's engine with the same direction. Block signal rule 450 moves the signal indication in one direction with the defined limits of designated trains on specified table by the special instruction movement of the train's engine with reference to other trains and engines in the same direction will be governed by block signals. The indication of the superior of the train do not supersede the train orders. The train orders, except for the form X, are not required to the movement of the train engine specify the direction and indication of the block signal in this territory. The movement of the train engines will be supervised by the train dispatcher. 451, authorized for the enter of the main track. Train engines must obtain authority for the train dispatcher, except in the yard limits. Special instruction will govern the comply with the requirements of Rule 699 and 104 before entering a main track. The train engine must cross over and obstruct another main track without permission of the train dispatcher protection as rule prescribed in double track Rule 99. 452, reporting delay. The train dispatcher must be advised with advanced new condition of the delay of the train engine preventing them making the usual speed. The work is to be done with the delay of the train engine. Permission must be obtained with the train dispatcher before entering the block on which work is to be done. The track engine instructed with the train dispatcher clearing main track of the following train will closely advised to be cleared to be avoided delay. The clear main track of the following train does not pass. Promptly communicate with the train dispatcher. 453, clearance and classification standards. Clearances may be used to designate the train engine classification. Signals are not required except if the train designate clearance as an extra signal section. They may be displayed to avoid places or remove them. Clearance designated extra trains must be read. For example, the extra 788 south clearance designate sections must read. Example, the first one green signal, second one numbered signals, etc. Alright, other general rules.